Hey everyone, it's Sean with Pew Tactical, and today we are taking a look at the Tisas 1911A1. Let's check it out. Before we jump into this review, please hit the like and subscribe button. Let YouTube know that you dig our content. In exchange, we'll provide you with a cringy gun meme. So this is a 1911. In fact, it's an A1 modeled after the original version by Colt. It's a semi-automatic 45 caliber with a 7+1 capacity. So before we start shooting, let's talk about the ergonomics. Now, the 1911 is a very traditionally thin pistol. You can see compared to like Glocks or SIGs or other models, it's very thin, has a thin profile. Because of that, it's got some different ergonomics. The safety, first off, is up here. Now this original version is kind of small. You know, they've since improved that and made much bigger versions. But this one right here, I can still get to pretty easily, and I think different hand sizes can. The 1911 is great for the beaver tail. They've always been really good about protecting the hand and not letting that slide bite happen. Now moving forward, the magazine release is a little bit difficult to get to, but that's just traditional of the 1911. When you think about the size of the rounds that are in this magazine, even though that's a very thin magazine, it's still wide from front to rear. And that causes the magazine release to be a little bit further than you can reach comfortably. I have 2X hands, and I cannot reach this without adjusting my grip. So I have to roll it a little bit to get my thumb onto that magazine release and pull it down. Thankfully, the magazines here also include the lever at the bottom of the floor plate, so that if you have an issue, you can dig it out a little bit. Trigger, right here, pretty easy to reach, and it's the more traditional curved 1911 trigger. Now, the slide has some serrations on the rear, and those are nice. You can use those to either slingshot, or you could reach over and grab it like this, but there's nothing on the front and really nothing else to mention as far as ergonomics go. All right, we're at 7 yards. We're gonna test out some accuracy by shooting 3-shot groups, just see how it measures up. The interesting thing is with these sights, going back to irons again, the old classic, I have to really hold it down low. So it's just a kind of a minimal amount of sight in the sight picture. But let's take the shots and see how we do. You know what? I better reload. That's one issue with the 1911. Oh man. Okay, let's check those out. So not terribly bad. I'm working with the trigger a little bit. This is the first group that I shot. Just kind of figuring out, like I said, the sights, you have to really have that front blade down pretty low, equal height, equal spacing, and there's just really not much of them. I was able to put 2 in the same hole with this group, but then working with the trigger, there's a little bit of, I want to say creep or travel at least, and we'll get into that next, but I was able to put 2 here, and then I jerked the trigger on that one and threw that one a little bit high. And then up here, again, that's just all me, just getting back to iron sights again. That's a little more like it. Nice. Okay, let's see that story. So it's interesting, going back to a hammer-fired gun, especially one like this, where you can see that my left and right is pretty solid, but the distance that is making a difference is the trigger. And the trigger, which we'll talk about immediately following this, is getting used to that again. It's a little bit different. So let's just jump right into that, shall we? Okay, so there's a little bit of take up right there, and then you hit a pretty solid wall, and then we'll go ahead and break the shot. Reset. Try that again. Wall. Right there. It's a very short trigger, and reset is immediate, and it's the full length of the return. It's the classic hammer-fired trigger of the 1911. We'll just go through it one more time. Take up right there to the wall, and then breaks right there. All right, so as far as accuracy, this is a 5-inch gun, and the trigger is the fabled 1911 hammer-fired trigger. We should be able to hit 50 yards, torso-size steel, relatively easy. The biggest factor in all of this is going to be me. It's the nut behind the wheel theory. I'd say that's not bad. Hey everyone, we appreciate you watching this video. I want to thank you for that, and also direct you over to pewpewtactical.com. If you click on the link below in the description, you can head over to the article and read even more information about the Tisas 1911A1. Okay, so we're pushing out to 100 yards here. Should be relatively easy with a good 1911. Torso size steel. Let's see where that one went. Saved by the bell. Okay, it took me a little while to figure out where it was. These sights are very minimalistic, blacked out or grayed out, as the Cerakote would dictate in this case. But you've just got a front hump that's like a half moon blade, and then your traditional single notch rear. But getting the front sight down is what I had to do in order to make that shot finally on the last round. All right, now we're using mostly 230 grain ammunition here. We've got some FMJ practice ammo, but one of the challenges that I've come to realize with 1911s over the years is handling modern ammunitions. I carried a 1911 on duty, and I had to stop carrying it when I had to use frangible ammunition because it just wouldn't cycle. We've got some defensive rounds here, some Gold Dot and some law enforcement rounds from Federal, that we're going to run through just to see how the weapon cycles. Okay, so we've got some Spear 200 grain, and we've got them loaded up. Going to insert them, and we've already got an issue. Magazine's already in. I'm holding the slide release down, and it's not feeding. You can see the slide lock has been released. It's not in the notch. So, tried to pull that one out. So let's just force it. And see how that works. Okay, again, so it'll set them off, but it just can't feed these 200 grain Spear defensive rounds. Yeah, so it's interesting. I spent a lot of time shooting outside as a law enforcement officer, and I carried a 1911 on duty for many years. I always found it to be extremely reliable and very accurate. I was really accurate with that firearm. But when I moved to a different agency, I had to use an indoor range, and that range required using frangible ammunition. And reliable and accurate firearm that I had carried for so many years would no longer function. It just would not feed. It had the same issue as this. So we're going to load up some Federal law enforcement. And again, these are 230 grain defensive ammo, and we're going to see if we have that same issue. Okay, so we've got the Federal here. Let's try them. Aha! Success. but will it run? Very nice. Okay. We'll run another mag through just to make sure, but I think that's pretty evident that it's going to run. 45 caliber for when you absolutely want something to stay shot. Nice. So it cycles the Federal just fine. You know, there's something to be said for 7 rounds. Pretty easy. Most people count to 7, but when you get magazines that have 20 rounds in them, you can lose count along the way. So 7 makes a compelling argument. Yep, running nicely, as long as the right ammo is applied. Nice. So let's talk about reloading. The 1911 has some interesting challenges. So the fact that you have such a narrow magazine and a narrow mag well makes it a little bit more challenging, I think. That, and I'm just out of practice, but you're looking at lining these two things up, and you don't have beveled edges. I mean, you do here, but they're very small. You can probably see them at an angle here. A little tiny bit of beveling at the edges, but that's not like a competition mag well. No, this is a very traditional 1911. So you're just going to have to practice in order to get that consistency. And I am inconsistent today. There we go. Hey, we're going to get to our final thoughts next, but before we do, please hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you let YouTube know that you're hooked on our content. Now, final thoughts on the Tisas 1911A1. Now, there's a few different models out there. Some of them are dedicated to U.S. Army, Marine Corps. This one came with wood grips. It also has plastic grips. And I really dig the Cerakote finish. This gray has a nice flat finish. Aesthetically, the gun is very nice. It's very traditional to the 1911A1 design. As far as performance, it's accurate. It's very accurate if I do my part. The only issue that we had as far as reliability was one particular type of ammunition that just wouldn't feed. It wasn't like you would get 3 or 4 rounds in and realize that you had a problem. It wouldn't feed. It wouldn't load from the magazine from the beginning. So you knew automatically that you had an issue there. Everything else that we ran through, perfectly fine. Several hundred rounds now between a couple of different outings with this firearm. It's done really well. The ergonomics are interesting. Going back, the spar on the end of this beaver tail was kind of digging in to my hand. And it's just something that, you know, again, if I shot 1911s a lot, I would probably get used to that again. But otherwise, the ergonomics are very traditional 1911 and just about what you would expect. The trigger took a little bit of getting used to. Pretty spec'd out 1911 trigger. You've got a little bit of take up and then you're at a wall and it breaks pretty quickly. This is a cool package. Now, Tisas is from Turkey, so I'm assuming that these firearms are made in Turkey, even though they have an office, a U.S. office here in Knoxville. But this is a pretty good value if you look at it. 1911s can span anywhere from a few $100s up to several thousand. There are a number of different brands out there that are really expensive. This one's like $450. There's a few different models, like I said, so they're varying in price, but for a pretty classic homage to the original 1911A1, this is a good bargain. We want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.